Look around you. Can you be sure that anything actually exists? Think about your day. You woke up, you presumably got out of bed, and then at some point, for some reason, you started watching my video. Now imagine you wake up, and it was all a dream. Given that this can happen, can you be sure that anything in your experience is real? Can you even be sure that you have a body? Well, let's find out. René Descartes was a 17th century French philosopher who one day realised that a lot of the things that he thought were true were actually false. Things he'd been told as a child or in school were not always correct. So Descartes started what we now call the method of Cartesian Doubt or skepticism, in which we question all of our knowledge in an attempt to identify something or anything that we can be certain is true or exists beyond all doubt. We can then build our knowledge from there. You're watching me on this video. Am I real? Maybe not. Maybe you're just dreaming and you've completely made me up. You can't be sure that your experience right now is true. And even if you're not dreaming, would your senses be reliable? Well, how many times have you seen your mate only to realise that it's not even your mate at all? Like, oh look, there's Dave. Oh no, it's someone else. I once saw a rock that I thought was a cow. Descartes says that we would be silly to trust something that so frequently tries and succeeds in tricking us. But you might be thinking, even if this is a dream, or my senses are unreliable, surely there are things that we can know beyond all doubt, like 1 + 2 = 3. Well, no, says Descartes. What if an evil demon is in control of your life? What if your brain is just in a jar in the evil demon's laboratory, and you're plugged into a computer that is simulating your experience? Maybe the demon is making you think that 1 + 2 = 3, when really equals 5. There is one thing, however, that you can be certain of exists beyond all doubt. You are thinking. By doubting existence, you know that you definitely exist. There is a you that the evil demon is tricking. Hence Descartes' famous phrase, Cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am. But what are you? What does it mean to say that you are a thinking thing, as Descartes says? Well, you must be a mind at the very least, because it is minds that have thoughts. What's more, Descartes uses mind and soul interchangeably. You, your soul, your mind is a thing that thinks. It is a thing which doubts, understands, conceives, affirms, denies, wills, refuses, which also imagines and feels. Contrary to Thomas Aquinas, who stated adamantly that he is not his soul, for Descartes, much like Plato, the you is your soul. And herein lies Descartes' famous doctrine of substance dualism. There are two substances, soul and body. The soul is a substance in its own right and can exist independently of the body. Where is the soul? For Plato, remember, things are quite simple. The soul is divided into 3 parts. Reason is in the head, spirited emotions are behind the chest, and the appetites are below the diaphragm. Descartes disagrees. For Descartes, the soul does not occupy a physical space. How can it? The essence of the soul is thought. Thought has no physical extent, no size, no shape. It is the exact opposite of the body. You cannot get your tape measure out and measure a thought like you can measure your leg. And you cannot divide the soul into parts, contra Plato. I clearly have body parts, but I cannot divide my mind into individual components, nor can the soul move if it has no physical extent. And so, as a non-extended, indivisible substance, the soul is not located in space. Does Descartes have evidence in support of this analysis of the soul? Well, take the phenomenon of phantom limbs. Sometimes those who have an amputation later report experiencing an itch where their limb would have been. For Descartes, this suggests that pains are not located within the body. They are located in the soul, which then represents our pains as having spatial locations. Just as how we can be misled about the rock and the cow, so we can be misled about our pains. All this leads Descartes to declare that animals don't feel pain. Why? Because they don't have a soul. Descartes' time is one of Copernicus, Galileo and Kepler, with Newton on the horizon. An understanding of the universe has emerged which is purely mechanical. The planets follow laws of nature from which they cannot deviate, laws which we can express and understand. Even animals and other living bodies can be understood mechanically. Just like the workings of a clock, you just need the right parts arranged in the right way, and the clock will tick. And so Descartes does away with many of the ideas of his predecessors. The soul is not a life-giving force as it is for Plato and Aristotle. The body alone is sufficient to explain what makes something alive. Death is simply the result of the irreversible breakdown of the body. Just as how you would get out of a broken car, so at death, the God-created immortal soul leaves the broken body. As a result, Descartes can eradicate this belief of the ancient Greeks, which persists into Aquinas, that animals and plants have souls. Bit of a shame, really, because I quite liked that bit, and instead he'll replace it by infamously saying that animals don't feel pain. Now, I'm a bit confused. We said earlier that the soul has no physical location, but at the same time, it can represent our pains in our bodies. How does it do that? Well, for Descartes, there is a point of interaction between the soul and the body. I mean, there has to be. And he confidently asserts that the soul and body connect at the pineal gland. His reasoning seems to be you mostly have two of everything, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 ears, but the pineal gland is just a single item at the centre of your brain. So, what else could it be for if not soul-body interaction? Descartes faces the inconvenience of not being supported by empirical evidence. If you were to cut out the pineal gland, it wouldn't affect your mental faculties. He is nonetheless recognising and attempting to solve a problem which we are still faced with today, the binding problem. I urge you to pause this video and read this wonderful quote which captures the binding problem perfectly, but I will summarise. When you experience the world, it is not just a single image with sound being projected into your brain as a complete package. It's not like capturing a video on your phone. Instead, your experience is being broken down into chunks of information and processed separately by millions of different cells. Different cells process the contours, different ones the textures, different ones for the colours, and sound is broken down into different frequencies, direction and intensity, and then there's all the other senses. Nonetheless, your brain unifies this into a single smooth moment of ever-flowing conscious awareness. How does this happen? I don't know. That's why it's the binding problem. And so while Descartes' confidence at pronouncing the pineal gland as the soul's window into the body may seem risible, he is nonetheless attempting to solve a very real problem. I don't think his views on animals and pain stands the test of time, but his thoughts on phantom limbs and how he turns this into an argument for his position is very interesting. If you want more interesting videos on the soul, then check out my playlist on the soul. We've got Plato in there, Aristotle. What Aquinas said is quite interesting, a very different view on the location of the soul. He says that the soul is in the whole and the whole is in the parts. So find out whatever that means in the video. For now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.